Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Fat Girl Chronicles. I'm Tammy.
And I'm Megan.
Together we are
the Fat Girl Flippers.
Welcome back.
Yes, and if you're joining in on YouTube, make sure you're hitting that bell to be reminded on Fridays that we are popping up. And if you'd prefer to listen to audio, we are on pretty much all the podcast streams, which is like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean. If you're watching on YouTube, though, we would love if you would subscribe, hit that subscribe button, and follow us. We also love the comments. Feel free to comment and interact with us as best you can, because we love when that happens. Yeah.
Yes, we love that. I like to see your comments.
Yeah. So I do, apologize. We had a little 2-week hiatus. We typically just record every week, so we don't have like
a stash
of podcasts, which I guess we could work on in the near future or whatever. But so we're going to talk about kind of why we were on a hiatus. The second week was a little bit more of like I had to schedule stuff, and we had some recovering here. So, but yeah, we have quite the podcast. I think a lot of good discussion today. So maybe if we just want to get started and talk a little bit about Tammy and what she's gone through.
I just had gastric sleeve done, so I went in for surgery last Thursday.
Yeah.
21st. Was that last Thursday? That's 2 weeks ago almost.
Yeah.
Wow. So I went in on the 21st of November and had surgery. And not for the reasons everyone would think, even though I am morbidly obese, according to the medical fields. The reason I had to have gastric sleeve was because my disease, lipedema, causes larger than normal appendages, and your body has lipomas on it. So it also affects your joints, and both of my joints, knees and ankles, are, the easiest way to explain it is that the lipomas have pushed the kneecaps out of joint, and all my synovial fluid, I think it's called, the fluid between the kneecap leaks out, and then the cartilage wears, and then you have bone on bone. So basically I have bone on bone. That's why I'm in a wheelchair, unable to walk anymore. So the surgeon, and Megan can concur with this because she was with me at the surgeon's appointment.
Yeah, the knee surgeon,
the orthopedic surgeon. The only way he will look at me or do anything to my knee, even though I am certified healthy, by all accounts of their blood work and all their x-rays and all their other stuff.
Yeah.
The only way he will look at me is if I have weight loss surgery, bariatric surgery.
Yeah.
And so they put me on the list for bariatric surgery, and a year later, here I am.
It's got to be over a year.
No, it was actually just a little bit, because I signed on October the 13th. I met with the surgeon October the 13th, 2023.
Really?
Yes.
Jeez.
Just felt like it because I was on that freaking diet for
I know.
Ever.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's why we weren't able to do a podcast. I was in the hospital. Normally, people get out usually the next day or the day after. I had some complications with the surgery, so I was in there a little longer.
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of want to because there is quite a story in the actual surgery itself.
Yeah.
Before we get to that, I think it's really important for us to address, and I know you'd agree with this, that, there's so many, we know that people watch us and follow us or interact with us because of how dedicated we are to body positivity, to
the plus size community in
general. The
plus
size community, right? To champion all bodies regardless of size. And so I know that just in my own experience with influencers, for example, where I'm not saying we're influencers by
No,
any
but
means,
in a way we are.
yeah,
I mean,
yes.
we don't know who's watching us and who takes our advice or what we do,
Right,
may
right.
look up to us. You don't know.
Right. So I think of like recently Lizzo, for example. Now she's not bashed, but normally what happens is you have these kind of influencers or people that are champion all bodies. They lose weight and then all of a sudden it's
They're on the other side.
they're on the other side, and it becomes very hateful. Now Lizzo, from my understanding, isn't that way. She is in the process of losing weight, but I don't see her kind of hating on plus size bodies now. Now I could be wrong. I haven't really totally watched her stuff.
I saw
in a long
one
time.
reel the other day, and it was not anything.
Yeah,
It was just about her own journey
yeah.
and
So
talking about her body and things, but it wasn't.
and that's fair, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's allowed to have their own journey.
Yeah.
I think what you're getting at is that just because we may like the weight loss surgery or whatever doesn't mean that we want to be skinny or we ever think we're going to be skinny.
Or that's the ultimate goal. I mean,
Goal.
I've been honest in a couple of different podcasts now that I've been
No.
losing weight. Mine is more about a healing journey, and also kind of similar to Tammy in the fact that in order to have certain procedures with fertility, I have to be under a certain BMI. So similar to Tammy, one medical procedure requires the weight loss, and whether we can champion all bodies all day long, but ultimately if we're being denied something, which is totally unfair, but it is life, like that's our system.
Well, yeah,
right now.
I mean, you want a baby and I want to walk again.
Yeah, exactly. But certain things are being denied because of our size, right? And so we kind of have to lose that weight. And so I just want to make sure that, listening to this, no one's kind of rolling their eyes and say, oh, great, now they're losing weight, they're going to be this, they're going to be that. I want to assure you that regardless, we will always champion bodies. And I want to talk about a little bit like, so my mother had the same surgery. And I can remember when she had that, me feeling like I was going to lose my mom. Because I felt like once she loses the weight, she's going to dismiss me. She's not going to accept me anymore. It's like so much of her was wrapped up in her size, which, I mean, has its own sort of psychological.
Weight is it's an emotional thing, especially for women.
Very much so. And so I want to assure you that, like, when she did lose, because she had the surgery and she did lose the weight, she didn't have any sort of, she didn't have an illness or anything that would deter her from losing that weight. So she did. And she never changed. Like, she never judged. She's never shaming of my body. Never, like her essence is still the same. And Tammy and myself, I know are going to be the same. I know that regardless whether we're a size 28 or a 14, we are always going to champion bodies.
Yep.
And
all bodies.
All bodies, and neither one of us I will say without a doubt, will ever believe that a certain body is not worthy or does not deserve respect or is not worth dignity, because all bodies are. So I just wanted to touch on that a little bit, because you can be body positive, you can have this kind of community, and you can still lose weight. Because I think that's important to just kind of
absolutely.
there.
I'm glad that you brought it up, because I believe too that it is important to have that discussion, because we aren't. Oh, excuse me. We are really. Both of us are very, very passionate about this, and very passionate about the plus size community. And me, with the disease that I have, or disorder that I have, lipedema, the chances are very low that this weight loss surgery will work. And especially on the areas. The reason why they wouldn't do the knee surgery is because they do it with a robotic arm. And the robotic arm, my leg would not, or my knee would not fit into their robotic arm. So again, I'm shamed into, you don't fit into the
A
mold.
medical procedure which you need.
Yeah, you don't fit into the mold. And I mean, what happened before they had these robotic arms? There used to be surgeons who did an actual knee replacement themselves.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there is an option, but you're not offered that. You're just told, no, I'm sorry, your leg is too big and it won't fit in the robotic arm.
So now you'll have to wait a year
Yeah.
for a surgery that likely won't
Oh, well,
have the same effect.
I'll have to wait a year
Oh,
before I
right.
can even get back on the list for surgery,
Right.
because I can't do anything until I've gone through this for a year.
Right. You can't do any surgery for a year after this.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I remember that.
yeah, so it's, and I mean, um, this is not a gentle, easy surgery. And I mean, I've had a hysterectomy, I've had my gallbladder out, I've had my appendix out, I've had, my tonsils out, so I've had multiple surgeries. This was the roughest of them all. Even though it was done laparoscopically, it was a really traumatic experience, I
Yeah.
guess.
So why don't we start with, do you want to start with like leading up to like what your diet looked like, what your like that kind of stuff?
Sure. Well, I mean, that's pretty simple, and I mean, I don't know how much interest like our listeners would have in that, but it basically, leading up to the weight loss surgery, you have to show them that you can lose 20 to 30 pounds. So they give you this lovely 1,200 calorie liquid diet that you're supposed to do for 2 weeks, which I did, and I think I lost like 4 pounds or something. And then they put you on a maintenance plan, which is 1,200 calories also, and it's called limited choice diet. So it has, you get 3 ounces of protein or 4 ounces of protein. Like I say, when I say protein, I mean like solid protein, like a chicken breast or something, and some uncooked greens and some cooked greens, and then basically that's it, some yogurt and some Boost. And you're still on a 1,200 calorie diet. So I was on that for a full year leading up to the surgery. Mm-hmm. And I lost, at the time of the surgery when I got weighed, I had lost 32 pounds. Most people, if they stuck to it, would lose.
If I was doing that,
Yeah.
I probably would have been at the 100-pound.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, so I'm already getting the eye rolls and the looks from the nurses when they weigh me, and they're looking at, and then they ask, is this right? Is this what you actually weighed before you started? Yes. Is this how much you lost? Yes. Oh. And you followed the diet every day, and I'm like, yes.
And you know damn well they're thinking.
Yeah, and then you've got 6 nurses in this small little room and 6 beds. We're getting ready, like pre-ops, to go into the operating room, and they're all sitting there, and they're going to talk about it, because while I'm laying there, as soon as anyone leaves, they start talking about them. So, yeah, I'm laying there listening to them talk to the patient that just went in before me, so I'm thinking, oh God, what are they going to say about me?
Yeah, that's horrible.
It is horrible. I'm not a fan of the QE2 or whatever, it's the Victoria General, the VG hospital anymore.
Yeah.
It's pretty dirty and gross.
So there was an issue with your blood work. So I got up, 4:30?
Yeah.
Had to be here for like 5:15.
Well, that was Turo's fault, because they were supposed to send 2 tests. This special blood that they type your antibodies, if you have antibodies in your blood, and of course, who else but me would have antibodies in her blood, and no explanation where they came from. So Turo made a mistake and sent only 1 vial of my blood to Halifax for testing, and they need 2 when the antibodies show up.
Yeah.
So I had to go back and have more blood work taken. So luckily Megan got me there.
We went super early in the morning, which is good. No traffic, which was awesome.
And they were ready and waiting for me. So
which was also really
good.
Really good.
So I will commend that. But yeah.
Okay.
And then,
So how much detail do you want to get into? So you had the surgery.
yes, I had the surgery, and at one point I remember waking up and seeing Megan at the end of my bed. And then I remember somebody saying to me, "Wake up, Tammy, wake up. Tammy, why are you talking about Moncton? Wake up, wake up." And then nothing.
So, yeah, so I wasn't the emergency contact, but I was the contact.
You were actually the contact because they asked me, I had to have 2 contacts, and because Candy was out of province, they asked me if you were local. So
Okay,
you
good.
were the actual.
So they should have called. But yeah, okay, so they called me once. They called me after the surgery, which was later than I expected for them to call.
Because of.
Yeah, well, what we now know. And so they just said to me that you were sleepy, you were kind of struggling to get out, which in my mind is not unnormal. Like, I know my mom and my
Of
sister
course, yeah.
really, like, they struggle to come out of the anesthetic.
A lot
or
of
whatever.
people struggle with the anesthesia.
Yeah. So for me, I was like, okay, whatever. And they were just like, yeah, you're like just like a little drowsy, but we're just gonna try to like. Actually, what she said was, we're just trying to kind of keep her awake and chatting. So like, to me, it sounded like everything was fine. And then I saw you. I dropped her off, went to work, and then I came back that evening. And when you were awake when I got there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you
Not
probably
really.
weren't.
Not really. All I remember is Megan, just like the outline of Megan standing at the bottom of my bed. I'm sure probably thought you were an angel or that I was dying.
Well, okay, so it's funny because you had 2 nosy neighbors across the way, and you were like getting like annoyed with them, and then you were in pain.
Yeah.
So,
and at that point, I didn't realize why they couldn't give me anything for pain.
but she did.
Oh, yes, that was the second. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the second round.
Because I was there when they administered.
Yes.
And
then they couldn't. You
which
left.
they shouldn't have administered.
Then you left, and they couldn't wake me up again.
Yes.
So what happened was when I went from the surgery room to the, I think it's a patient recovery room or a patient. It says on my paper. It's like the holding area after you come out of anesthesia, whatever they call that. And I'm not sure what building it is in because there's all different buildings and they transport the patients around from one to the other. So I was, apparently, I find out after I was discharged, I got a piece of paper and it explained what exactly had happened. And I had they had overdosed me on Dilaudid and had to bring me back with naloxone. While I was in the patient recovery area. Then they sent me to the room where Megan would have seen me.
Yeah.
And I was struggling still to come out of that mess. And none of us nobody told me anything. Nobody said, oh, this is what happened or anything. So then when that nurse again gave me Dilaudid for when I said I had pain, it happened again after Megan left. The first time they had to re-intubate me. And the second time, I don't think they re-intubated me, but they gave me naloxone again to wake me up. So I basically died. Like, the nurse explained when I was being discharged because I said, what is this? And she's like, what do you mean? And I said, what is this? That I was administered naloxone, right? And she's like, well, they overdosed you on Dilaudid, and she said, apparently you have some reaction to it. And I said, no, I've had it before. I've never, I've had it for pain and I've had it after surgery and I've never had a problem. And anyway, she goes, well, I don't know about that, but that's what happened. She goes, and, just basically like, you're lucky you're here and just be quiet and go away. Like no real, nobody really wanted to talk to me. I never saw my surgeon after he did the procedure at all. There were interns came in and saw us daily, but never saw the surgeon again, never laid eyes on him. Didn't see him before the surgery either. So I'm not going to say I'm real happy about that because I think that's pretty cold. Any other surgery I've ever had, I've met the surgeon beforehand.
Yeah. Which is fair.
Yeah.
Which is fair. I mean, like,
Yeah, I mean, just anytime before, they've just kind of, while you're waiting to get your anesthesia, they will usually come over and, either touch you on your arm or somewhere and just say,
yeah.
hi, I'm your surgeon, da 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 da,
Yeah.
how you doing, and that kind
Yeah.
of thing. But no, it didn't have any, not that I'm aware of anyway. If he was involved in I'm sure he wasn't involved in the aftercare and the reintubation or anything, because of that. I was told that is a totally different, like where they keep the
Yeah, it would be.
recovering patients.
Yeah, it would be.
So it took me a long time to wake up, like really wake up and get my senses.
Well, even like, so.
Yeah, for you guys were worried because they didn't hear from me for a whole day.
Yeah, so on our end, what had happened was, so like I said, she went in for surgery around like 2:30, 3 o'clock. I got a call that everything went well, surgery went well. She's a little drowsy. We're just keeping her up and trying to talk to her. And then I didn't get there till like 6 o'clock, and you had just been like moved and woken up. Like, so you would have been out for hours.
I was on oxygen for 2 whole days.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't breathe properly on my
Yeah.
own.
Yeah. So.
Which
is crazy.
Is absolutely crazy because I've never had problems with anything like that. And that's not.
Right. And so I forgot your suitcase in my car.
Yeah.
So we said that I would come back that next morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I came back and you were like out.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, I would have just thought that's normal. It's like 6:30 in the morning.
I struggled that whole.
Yeah.
From the time that they brought me back from the place, and then they re-overdosed me again. And then the next day, I'm still struggling, like that whole day, I'm still struggling to wake up.
Yeah. And then to me, she just looks like, wow, she's getting, you know what I mean? Rest, like at 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
It's crazy how.
I can honestly say that I'm a person that's pretty, I don't want people startling me. So I'm usually a light sleeper as far as, I mean, maybe not now, but like after surgeries and things, I usually, if I'm in a strange place, it's not unusual for me to be awake. If I hear the nurses coming, I will
like wake up. Yeah.
I can say that for those first 2 days, every time somebody had to like physically shake me or like keep talking to me, or I couldn't keep my eyes open.
Yeah, I mean, you were out. Like, I dropped the suitcase off.
Yeah.
And so,
and by that point, I should have been well on the way to recovery. I should have been starting my liquid diet and like been well on my way to recovery.
So I dropped your stuff off. I went to work, and I think I got off early because it was a Friday, and I just remember like messaging, because we had like a little group chat between you and family members and Leo and stuff, and I was like, okay, like we've not, like it was great that she was sleeping soundly at 7:30 or 6:30 in the morning, but like it's now like 2:30 in the afternoon, like we haven't heard anything, like, so I placed a call, and I was like, I'm just like wondering for an update, and she was like, oh, I'll go get the nurse, and then the nurse wasn't ready, like available, and then when they asked my phone number and the name, and then they said, what is your relation? And I knew, here we go.
Just said sister or something.
Well, I know. And I said, I'm like a daughter to her. I'm the person that they called, like, after the surgery, like thinking my name's Meg McNeil. You guys called me after the surgery, like, whatever. And so I told the group that, and Candy was like, well, if you don't hear anything, then I'll call. But you had you messaged like maybe an hour or two after that. Just briefly, like you would message,
and I was confused. Like my messages were jumbled and maybe not to you guys, but I had messaged Val, and it was really Val, and it was all confused. And somebody else I messaged, and it was all jumbled up. Like the words didn't make any sense.
Yeah, and you like, I think it was only like 1 or 2 messages, and then you went off again.
I couldn't even. I was so like out of it that I couldn't even hold my phone to look at it like and see it. And I knew that you guys would be worried, and that was the only reason I sent out that first message. And then I put the phone back down on the thing, and I never looked at it again, I think, until the next day.
Yeah, so then we never heard anything again
until the next day.
And so, again, we were coming up to, like, okay.
3 days.
Yeah, like, this is getting... So that would have been Friday that you only messaged, like, once.
Yeah.
And then Saturday... What day did you come home? Was it Sunday or Monday?
Monday evening.
Monday evening. So, yeah, it was just, like, long periods. Like, Saturday, same thing. It was, like...
Oh, and I slept. Like, they kept trying to wake me up and make me drink water and make me do this and take your pills and do all this. And I was just like, felt like my head was one of those bobbleheads. Like, I was just like, my head was too heavy to hold it up.
Yeah.
And I knew that, like, something was wrong, but I couldn't place what it was.
Right. And then so Saturday into Sunday, that's when you started to come out of it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense.
It was actually Sunday afternoon. Because the doctor or the intern was late coming in, and he came in around noon, and I know that I remember that vividly because I was awake then, and that's when I was starting to, like, take sips of water and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said, "Oh, good, you're on your second stage of diet," and I said, "No, I haven't had any food yet." What? Like, at that point I had nothing. Like, I hadn't eaten. I had had a couple sips of water, but I had no broth, no nothing for all those days. So
yeah, so it was just, I mean, on our end, very, very concerning. Like, you'd call, you couldn't get an answer.
I'm very, very angry over the fact that they had to re-intubate me. They also had to bring me back twice with naloxone, and they never told you guys that.
I know.
That's not, to me, that's unethical. I feel like they felt, okay, here's one that doesn't have any real, because nobody was visiting me, nobody came,
right.
Like, nobody was sitting right there with me.
Right.
Most of the other patients had their husband with them or somebody
right.
was with them.
Yeah.
So they probably thought, okay, here's one, she's by herself, we're just going to try and
right.
slide this under the rug, right?
Right.
Little did they know I was going to read the nurse that brought me the discharge papers brought them to me, but didn't realize that I was going to be in the hospital until 4:30. She brought them to me at lunchtime. So that's why I started reading the discharge papers, and I was like, what the hell is this? Like, yeah.
It's just, it's scary because I think about all the, like, the different, like, for all my biopsies and stuff, like, I go under, and so they're classified as, like, a surgery, and how much trust I put in, like, I go in there putting in so much trust.
Well, that right up to the surgery, everybody kept asking me, are you nervous or
yeah,
anything? And I wasn't, and I really wasn't. Because I've had so many surgeries, and everything has, gone smoothly. I've never had any problems with anesthesia, waking up, or anything like that, and so I just thought, okay, this will be quick, because it was laparoscopically also, so it wasn't, it wasn't like they were cutting my guts open or...
Like, we were expecting to do record the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
That night
that I woke up, like, Thursday night, I told Megan, take the microphone in the car because, we can record the podcast right from the hospital if we want.
Yeah, and, like, I mean, you were, like...
Oh my God, I was unconscious.
Well, no, but you were like, it's not going to be a problem. Like, you had so much faith in it.
Absolutely, because like I say, I know how I normally come out of surgery. And normally it's, an hour or so, I'm kind of loopy, and then you come out of it, and that's it, right? Not this. That's why I kept wondering, why is this sticking with me for days? Why am I so freaking tired? Like, I couldn't figure it out, and I thought, this is weird, because again, laparoscopic surgery is a lot less invasive than a big gash in your belly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I don't know. I've had a lot of time to think about it since I've been home, and I really, really have lost trust in our medical system here in Nova Scotia. I feel like there's some real flaws, and once I became really conscious, and not even my situation, but once I became conscious in that hospital and could see how dirty it was and how procedures weren't really being followed, nurses weren't washing hands, and moving from one patient to the other, no gloves, just, And I never saw a cleaning person the whole, 4 days I was there? Or 5 days, 5 days, I guess.
Yeah.
Never saw a cleaning person for the 4 days that I was in my room. Nobody wiped off my, like, table. Nobody took out the garbage. Nobody changed I told you, the commode.
I know.
The
You sent me a
commode.
picture.
Yeah, and I mean, I wasn't allowed to lift anything or move anything or do anything, so it's not like normally I would just do that shit myself if they were busy, right? But I just was just appalled at the state of things. Nobody came around and said, would you like a wet face cloth to wash off? Or like, and the girl in the bed across from me who had I guess, anyway, it doesn't matter what she had for surgery, but there was a girl there that had surgery, and she had been in, I think, the day before me, and she was still there recovering, and she had asked about having a shower, and the nurse told her no, couldn't have a shower because it created too much bacteria in the hospital and caused infections. So, so then she said, well, can you bring me a basin of water and a face cloth? And the nurse said, we don't do that. She said, I can bring you some baby wipes. And this girl had much more invasive surgery than I. And let's just say that, she was going to have a lot longer road to recovery. She also wasn't from the area. She was like me, not from Halifax, so didn't have people with her. Her people were way farther away. And so there was nobody there with her either. And I felt really bad because, how many other elderly people are there? How many, how many people are there that are, what do I want to say, that vulnerable, disadvantaged, mentally ill, whatever. Oh, the other thing was there was someone on that whole ward or that floor that screamed continually, help me.
Yes, they were there when I went.
And it was, yes, and it never stopped. The whole entire time I was there, that never, ever stopped. So a couple of the nurses mentioned it to me. I didn't say anything to them because, obviously the person was not mentally well.
Yeah.
But the nurse said to the other patient in the bed beside me, she goes, I am so tired of listening to that. And he said, well, why don't you guys move her somewhere else? And they said, well, there's nowhere where she needs to be. There's no bed for her. So, yeah. Anyway, so all the people in recovery had to listen to someone screaming, help me, at the top of their lungs. And one nurse asked me if I wanted earplugs.
And you know what's worse? That person desperately needs and deserves help that they're not getting.
100%.
Isn't
100%.
that awful?
Yes. So that's what I mean.
It's shitty for everybody.
Where I saw the flaws. And if you're in recovery from a major surgery, the last thing you want to hear is somebody screaming 24/7. Because you're trying to rest, right? So every time they'd wake you up for pills, it would be, help me.
Oh, I know. Yeah. And it was very high. I was there.
It was high-pitched. Yeah. It was loud. It was,
And obviously very unwell and need of help that they're clearly they're not in the right spot.
Well, it was so funny because I heard somebody say, oh yeah, she's fine when the volunteer comes and sits with her. She just wants somebody to sit with her. Well, I think wouldn't it be easier to find somebody to sit with her than to listen to that all day? I don't know. I guess in order to make everybody well, you know what I mean? Like, to make it must be extremely hard on the nurses, hard on their heads to try to work and try to figure out medications and do all that kind of stuff while they have to listen to that 24/7 in their ears.
And the thing is, if someone who is experiencing a mental health crisis is not in the proper not in the proper area of the hospital, like the nurses in the OR recovery may not be specialized in mental health nursing.
Absolutely no.
Again, we're like totally failing everybody. We're not providing a safe space for the staff, nor the people recovering, nor the person experiencing the crisis. So we're just like effing up everywhere.
Oh yeah, the other thing that happened to me was my hand swelled up. Like a balloon. It literally looked like a balloon. And it was seeping. It was the hand that had the IV in it. And it was seeping fluid. It was seeping the IV fluid, which was also my pain meds. and my anti-nausea meds, and that was the worst thing. I kept telling them, I'm nauseous, I'm nauseous, I'm nauseous, and I have this headache that won't go away.
Yeah.
And the fluid was running down my hand, and I said, my IV is leaking, it's not going in. And she goes, oh no, it's fine, and she just put a piece of tape over it. So then I woke up in the middle of the night, and I couldn't bend my fingers because my hand was swelled so big.
And it was big.
Yeah. So the nurse came in, fiddled with it again, and slapped some more tape on it, and then it was shift change. So then I woke up a couple hours later, and it was worse. So a male nurse came, and he looked at it, and he goes, oh, it just needs some tape. So he put more tape on it, and by the morning, I had tape all around my hand, and the IV was bloody from one end to the other. And when the nurse came in, when the shift changed in the morning, I called for a new nurse to come in. And when he came in, he took one look at that, and he said, that is the most lazy, disgusting looking thing I have ever seen. He said, that's just pure laziness on the part of the other nurses. And when he went to pull it out of my hand, there was a big, long string of clotted blood that came out with the IV thing. And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I thought, that, he knew they fucked up, right? Effed up. but he looked at them, at me, as if to say, this is a mess, right? And
it was big. And keep in mind, when you say, oh, I woke up and saw it, you're in it, basically in a dreamland, right? You're
yeah.
You're not, you weren't.
So I sent a picture of it to you guys every day to show you, because it
was massive.
And that was after they took the IV out.
Yeah, and it was
it literally was my hand was, and I don't have big hands. It literally looked like somebody blew up a rubber glove.
Oh, yes.
And at the time you guys saw it, it had already started to go down. So anyway, so that's just another example of, nobody really took responsibility for any of the patients.
Yeah.
And there were people with ileostomy bags and colostomy bags and stuff in there, and they would be sitting in their own feces because they were waiting for someone to help them change the bags. And they had just come out of major surgery.
That's scary. That's so scary.
Well, and you're laying there, and I mean, your decency is, you're so exposed. We're already in a ward with, you're with 3 strangers in a room and their families, and the room's the size of a closet.
Yeah.
And one of the nurses said that these rooms are not, they're not big enough for 4 people.
No.
And anyway, it's just, it makes you very vulnerable. So
even things like when I went up to the desk when I went to see that night, they said whatever room you were, bed, room whatever, bed whatever, but they don't actually have signs to say what bed is what. So
and if the curtains are closed,
so I'm still thankfully, basically every curtain except for yours was somewhat open, so I could see, and I was out of process of elimination that it was yours. But if they were all closed, I would have had to look in all of.
And I had people peep in on me, and that's the other thing. I couldn't go to the bathroom because I'm in a wheelchair, so I was in the bed in the far corner, the farthest away from the bathroom.
Yeah.
So they brought me a commode, but there was no privacy to use it because the lady across from me, her husband was sitting there all the time. So, I had to call the nurse to come stand, basically, because the curtains didn't close all the way.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So, I mean, every time I had to use the bathroom, it was really embarrassing because it's and then you, everybody's hearing you, know, when you're peeing in the thing, it's just, ugh.
And they didn't change it.
No, and then they didn't change it, so that's.
I can confirm that.
Yeah, and I have pictures of it. I did take pictures because it was pretty gross. Oh. It was disgusting.
Oh, it was so gross.
And there was a breakout of some kind of bacterial
infection.
Yeah, the day I was leaving, they had decided that they were going down to only one patient or one visitor per patient. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So that experience was.
It just makes me really like I said earlier, I've always had a lot of faith when I go do these things, and now I feel like the next time I go in for a surgery, I'm going to be a little bit more hesitant, which is unfortunate, but reality. Yeah, no, that it was scary. Way more scary for Tammy, obviously, because she's the one dealing with it. Very scary for people watching, like, or waiting. Like, I started to panic when, I think it was Saturday night. Yeah, it was Saturday night.
I think you all started to panic.
Well, I panicked way before that, but this is when I really started to panic. So it was like Saturday afternoon, evening. And Leo messaged me and was like, have you heard from Tammy? And I'm like, no, like, I haven't. I'm starting to get worried. And Leo said, I'm worried too. And Leo doesn't worry.
Yeah, Leo's not a worrier.
So the fact that he was worried, it just made me more anxious.
Yeah, he's not a worrier.
He's like, I'm pretty sure the world could come crashing down, and he'd be like,
okay, well, we'll just get up tomorrow morning and start working on it.
yeah, like he's not a worrier. So when he said to me, and I feel like if he was a worrier, he wouldn't admit it to, like, we're not strangers, but
but
we're not like overly close either. So like,
no,
obviously he was worried.
Yeah,
and Candy was worried.
Yeah,
Amanda was worried. Like,
yeah, and then when I finally came to, I felt so bad because I knew you guys, like, when I realized, I had to ask somebody what day it was. I didn't even know what day it was.
Yeah.
And I had to ask the nurse what day it was. And I'm like, oh my God. Because I realized, like, oh my God, has anybody been in touch with them? And the answer was no.
No.
So then I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it was a long couple of days. It was a lot. I mean, and for you too.
Well, they kept trying to get me to drink water, and I was so nauseous I would throw it up. And they had, we'll bring you a basin. So they brought me what was a plastic dishpan lined with paper towel, and you're supposed to gag in it. So I had to gag in it, and they left it on my table for it was still there. I had moved it over to the nightstand, but it was still there when I left. So that's like 4 days of nobody changing the pan, taking the pan away or anything. So they wonder why I have bacterial outbreaks and things like that. Well, yeah.
Yeah, that
I was really surprised to see all the nurses were young. The older nurses, this is the funny part, the older nurses were in the pre-op part of the operation, and that was a totally different scenario. It's like they want to put you to sleep in this nice, jolly place where there's these, experienced nurses all in their pretty scrubs.
God.
No, I'm not joking.
But I know what you're saying.
And there was one nurse per patient. And I mean, at this point, you haven't even had surgery. So why do they, no need for one nurse per patient, because you're not even hooked up to any monitors. You don't have an IV in or nothing. Right, so you're in this room with 6 other people, and you've all got your own nurse, and you just lay down and lay back and relax and wait until it's your turn to go, and then when you wake up, it's like you wake up in Twilight Zone with all these kids that look like they could be your grandchildren running around.
Oh my God, Tammy.
Poking you a million times because they couldn't, after that IV failed, they couldn't get an IV in because I was so dehydrated.
It's the whole thing is scary.
It is.
I'm so glad that you are now safe and sound in your home. Mm-hmm. Since you've been back, you've been okay?
Yep. Yeah.
Pain?
I overdid it a couple days.
Right, you were
last
saying.
Couple of days, and I felt a little bit of, feels like kind of stretching across here, and it hurts a little bit, but other than that, no. And even in the hospital, when I finally got the Dilaudid out of my system, I had no pain either.
Yeah, that's good.
The only time I had pain was when I first came out. That's when I was complaining of pain.
Oh yeah, because when I was there, you were like, where is she with my meds? Where is she coming with my meds? I got pain.
Oh. Well, between the pain and the nausea, it was just like, you're trying not to throw up because you've got these holes in your stomach. Yeah. And then, you're nauseous because they haven't got an IV in because anyway, it was.
Like, do you remember me saying I almost got into a car accident?
No.
So I was hyped up because I literally almost got into a car accident.
No, like I said, I don't remember you talking. I just remember you being at the end of my bed.
Yeah, no, we had like full on conversation.
Oh, nice.
I mean, it's not like you were like crazy alert, but you were more, and you were really focused on pain.
Yeah.
But on my way there, it's not the Bedford Highway. I call it the Bedford Highway. It's like the 102, but going towards Bears Lake, like that part of the 102. And the guy in front of me, well, that highway's dangerous anyway. The guy in front of me decided to basically stop, but we were in the passing lane, so we were already going fast. So my car actually has this, like, it's one of the safety features is it does like an automatic emergency brake, so I ended up having to do that. So I almost slammed into him. The guy behind me almost slammed into me. Like it braked so hard that I could smell the brakes for a few minutes afterwards. Like I really thought that we were gonna get into an accident.
Oh wow.
So I was hyped up, but I think that's really the only thing. Like you were really just focused on you said you had pain right at the top of your stomach.
Yeah, which is where all the stitches.
You were just like, there's just pain here. I just need, and you kept rolling your eyes at the people across the way.
Well, because I remember is waking up and the man was sitting there looking at me, and I'm like, why are these nurses not closing this curtain? I don't want to look at these other people.
Yeah.
And I don't want some strange man looking at me when I'm half out of it, right?
Yeah, and you were, yeah. So, yeah.
And I'm still in a hospital gown and, the whole gamut, and I'm still, again, you need to go pee and all.
And they don't even ask, like, when I went in that evening, I was like, oh, I'm here to see Tammy Higgins. And they were like, okay. And they gave me, like, your information. And then the next morning I showed up and I was like, oh, I'm here to give a suitcase to Tammy. And they're like, okay. I could have been anybody. Like, what is your name? Are you on the visitor list? Like, there's
no, I don't think there was a visitor list.
It was just like, so that was interesting. But now, on a positive note, before we wrap up, we both have Christmas parties or holiday parties that we're going to. So do you want to talk about yours a little bit, or what you're planning on wearing or doing?
Oh, okay. So I have 2 to go to this year, which is, I'm excited because I haven't had Christmas parties to go to for a long time. And I said that just recently.
I'm pretty sure that was on either our last one or the one before.
I know. I said that, and then all of a sudden, anyway, Leo asked me to go to his staff party with him, which is really nice because I think we'll have fun. And that's this Saturday. And then Lemonade Stand, the disability group that I belong to, and you belong to it as well.
Yes.
They're having their Christmas party on the next Wednesday?
Next
Wednesday, whatever day that is.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so get to dress up and...
That is awesome. What are you going to wear? Well, I know what you're going to wear, but...
I'm wearing, I'm borrowing from my lovely daughter.
Moi.
Maggie's. A sparkly...
it's like a jumper.
Like a one-piece jumper thing.
Yeah, it's really pretty because it does have the sparkles, and then it's just like a palazzo pant in the bottom.
And look at the shoes.
Oh, those
I got flats.
Perfect.
I know. I just got them.
That's awesome.
That's what I was looking for.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good
so now I have flats. So anyway, yeah. So and I have a dress that my daughter and my granddaughter had gotten for me that I think I will wear to the Lemonade Stand one.
Is that one gonna be dressy? Like,
I don't know, but I'm gonna wear it anyways because I'm like,
good for you.
Belle of the ball, right?
Yes. Is Leo going to both of them?
Yes. Well, because he'll have to take me.
Oh, right. Yes. Oh, that's awesome.
And I won't be able to eat anything, so he might as well enjoy.
Yeah.
me,
Exactly.
Right? So.
Yeah.
So you?
So in a turn of events.
What?
No, not really.
Oh,
my outfits is a turn of events, but so I go into 2 as well.
Okay.
And they're actually back to back. So
really?
Yeah. So Thursday night is mine. So at my work we can't bring anybody. I think there was like maybe some incidents in the past. Well, I don't know what transpired, but at one point you were allowed to bring people, now you're not. So, not allowed to bring anyone. But they book a hotel room for all staff.
Oh,
so,
I remember your party last year, yeah.
Yeah, because they go from member 2 to Dartmouth member 2. Yeah, so this year it's in Dartmouth.
Oh, that's good.
Which is good. So I'll be staying at a hotel in Dartmouth. And so Richard's coming, he'll just stay at the hotel room. Mm-hmm. And then the next night, we're going to his. and his is fancier.
Oh yes, I remember last year.
Yeah, so he works for Steel, so it's at Steel Wheels, which is kind of cool. So you get to see all the cars, and his is really fancy. So I have this. It's like an Old Navy dress, but it doesn't look Old Navy. It's like black. It's long, and it's got like a dip neckline. It's like, it's kind of almost looks like satiny material, like it's dressier. So I was gonna wear that for both. And then I found a dress as I was cleaning that I forgot that I had, that I haven't worn yet. And so this dress, it's like cold shoulder, and it's here, and it's got a little opening here. It's like a little black dress. It's got a little opening here, and then it only goes down like it's above my knee.
Whoa.
So I'm gonna wear that to my party with fishnet stockings.
What?
I know.
I was thinking of wearing fishnet stockings.
There you go. So yeah, so I was like, I'm going to dress a little bit more risque for mine, just because it's like mainly girls, really.
Yeah.
Like, it's female dominated where I work. So I'm gonna have a little fun with that, and then also I can't really wear that to Richards because Richards is a little bit more
Upscale.
Yeah, we're trashy people at the social work.
I was going to
social workers
say,
can be trashy.
Richard would look like he showed up at some streetwalker he found somewhere.
I know, right? I know.
Everybody else will be in their like ball gowns.
So yeah, so I'm gonna try that.
Oh my God,
I never wear Spanx, but I did buy Spanx for the dress. We'll see how it goes. I may not wear it, but... And if I don't wear it...
Throw away the Spanx. That's uncomfortable.
Well, the thing is, if I don't wear it, you'll see it on one of our lives. Because that's what I'll do. I'll just throw it back up there. And I got a good deal on it because it was... whatever. I mean, not that good of a deal because everything's bloody expensive. Like when I say good deal, I mean like $40 or whatever.
That's why I didn't buy a dress. I'm like, Megan must have something.
Oh, yeah. Well, and actually it's funny, the clothes that I showed you, one of my good friends in Millbrook, she has a other friend who lives out in Cape Breton, and that friend like goes out and does stuff all the time. And then whenever she's done with the clothes, she gives them to this friend in Millbrook. And so that friend in Millbrook then says, is there anything you want? So both of those dresses came from that. So they were also free for me.
Nice.
So that was nice, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 2 holiday parties.
Yep.
My office is almost completely decorated. Went over this weekend and did that. So that was like long and tedious.
That's fun.
But yeah, I don't have a Belize one. I do have a Mexico one.
Yeah.
And it's like in the mason jar, it has a picture of like the Christmas piñatas. And a coworker goes to Mexico all the time, and so she had a couple of like little Mexico artifact thingies.
Yeah.
So have that. But yeah, so that's almost done now too.
That's cool.
I'm excited for the holidays. Like,
I'm so. I don't really have anything going on, but I'm excited because I'm going up to see my girls, so for sure.
yeah, and your house looks very decorated.
Yeah.
Like I've been staring at that this whole time. I love
This?
it. Yeah, she's got like the snowflakes and the bulbs and the lights and
Leo
stuff.
did that.
Really, it's very cute.
Yeah. And
It's
then I've
very
got the
cute.
lights outside.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's my, like at where I am with my in-laws, we actually decided to do no gifts this year.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so we're not even doing gifts. And then for my parents, it's like $50 a person or something. So we're like, regardless of what house we go to, it's no gifts or a low budget gift. So I really like that because it really puts the focus on
The season.
yeah, like we've been watching Christmas movies.
Go
and
drive
stuff.
around and look at the lights.
Yeah.
You know, do the things that really make the memories. Not like it's not about tearing off the wrapping paper. It really is
it
not.
really, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't
And
be.
I hope that people. I know that so many people, and it's really difficult when you have younger children, and you're struggling because there's such a pressure from social media, from the mainstream media, you know, like for the toys and this and that, and you know, must-haves and you know, need, and the children want, and their friends are getting this, that, and everything else. So it's difficult, and it's unfortunate that it's that way.
Very unfortunate.
And right now, a lot of people are struggling even more than usual. So
Yeah. So just give yourself grace
Yes.
on that because,
Yeah.
and I've seen on social media a lot of people going, like a lot of things going around saying, you know, don't feel you have to do all these things because I find on social media it's either one of two things. It's you find social media around saving money or maybe doing homemade gifts or all these things, and then you've got the other type of social media where it's like, here's the $50,000 I spent on my child or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it can be hard when you got big families and you're doing stuff for aunts and uncles and cousins and
yeah.
like that's stressful. Yeah. So
For me, I think it's about the kids, and then
Of
after
course.
that, the adults don't really.
as it should be.
Yeah.
As it should be.
So,
All right.
we will be back before Christmas, so you will see us again.
Yes, we're gonna continue back on
Our regular schedule. And for
yeah.
anybody who's watching that's waiting for Fat Girl Flippers to be on again, we will be going live
next week
Yeah,
or Monday.
Monday.
Monday,
This
yeah.
coming Monday. So if you're listening to us, gear yourself up for Monday night at 7:00. I spent Saturday doing some thrifting, and I found some fabulous winter sweaters and beautiful just really nice cuddly because we're
Of
getting
course.
into the cozy season.
Yeah.
What I say as far as clothes, so I got a lot of
Cozy.
really nice cozy stuff.
I love it.
So,
Love it. I'm
and
in
a lot of
cozy right
people
now.
were asking about that. They were
Yeah.
asking for sweaters, cardigans, things like that. So I got a lot of,
That's
mostly
perfect.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see you again next week.
Okay.
All right.
Mwah!
Mwah!